I have good stuff to give you away. I don't know if they're good stuff, but I can give you something. Well, this is what I think about, and I've been doing this for many years, and I have so many different groups, and it's not always these pretty places to work at. But a lot of people said, well, I want to travel, I want to do this, I want to do that. But I love that she said not work, because retirement is nothing different than an option. There's going to be a day that you're going to say, you know what, I'm not getting up. And there's nobody that is going to tell you that you don't need to get up, right? I'm going to tell you what's going to tell you need to get up. When you go and you try to light up, you move the switch and there's no light, or you open the fridge and there's no food, or you try to get in your car and it doesn't start because there's no gas. That's what makes you keep working, am I right? Your bills keep making you work. So the whole idea with retirement is it costs you today because you're going to have that choice of not having to get up if you don't want to. And that costs money, but it also gives us that idea of what am I going to do? What can I do today? And it's really hard because it's funny. I listened to this podcast. It's called Freakonomics, and there was this gentleman that he's an economist and he studies people, and he says 75% of Americans are illiterate in finance concepts, because all these things sound so hard for us. So take advantage of today that we are here, that we can help you figure all this stuff out that sounds like, oh my God, this is too bad, I don't want to listen to it, right? Because that's usually what happens. When something we don't understand, we just kind of push it away. Talk to us, sit with us, try to understand. Your company gives you great ways to save, but is it going to be enough? Have you had any other jobs, anybody else? Did they give you the good of, the max, the help? Did they do that? Did they? Right. I worked for companies that they didn't. They just didn't give me that much, So take advantage of the fully help that the company's giving you, but don't stop there, because there will be a time. Doesn't matter how many good stuff we put in our faces, there'll be a time that we no longer are going to be able to work, or we don't want to work. And that's why we're here today. So just a couple of things of what is going on with the transition. You are going to be on a blackout period where you're not going to be able to access your account in TransAmerica. You don't need to freak out. It will come over to us. You'll eventually see it. But there will be that time, so it's important that you remember that. It's going to be until May 21st, I think, if I'm not wrong. So just don't forget the money's just going to transfer over. If you do nothing, that's an option. You just basically don't even look at these. You forget about us and you just kind of keep your merry way. Then what's going to happen is the money's going to move over to an investment that is corresponding to your age. All right? And I'm going to explain that in 2 seconds. And then your contributions are just going to move over. Nothing is going to change. If you decide to go on the website, meaning the new website, which is the Mass Mutual website, and I'm going to show it to you in your booklet. Sorry, I'm going to borrow this for 2 seconds. If you please open on page 1, there is a enrollment steps. Very simple. You don't have to take notes because everything is right there. You will go to that website. Please do not go to massmutual.com because we have a couple, so you may not, be there in one of our other sites. So just make sure you type exactly how it shows right there, massmutual.com/retirement access. Then it's going to say, please put your username and password. So you wonder, which one is it? Well, don't worry, we got you. It's right there. Your full social security number will be your username, and your password is your full date of birth. Now, did you notice it's 4 for the year? I'm going to repeat it. 4 for the year, because that's the number one question that people ask when they call the 1-800 number. I can't get in. Did you use 4 for the year? Oh, okay. Now it works, right? So just make sure you remember that, and then you're going to be able to walk through the steps. It will ask you to enroll. Even though you are enrolling in the plan, it will ask you to enroll and go through the steps. Again, if you don't do anything, it's just going to happen, and when you go into the website, your money will show up eventually when everything moves over. Any questions on that? All right. Last thing I want to talk to you about is your target dates and why it's so important that Stuart and the people at your company make sure that those investments are available to you. And I personally love them because let me ask you a question. Do you guys have any misunderstandings of people at work? Probably not, because you're all perfect,
they want to
right?
get it in front of them.
I was going to say, perfect. They're never going to happen. But sometimes we get misunderstandings. When we start getting a lot of information, we get very emotional, and then we tend to go into the website and start changing things because, oh my God, the market's gonna crash, this is gonna happen, right? I just mentioned 80% of Americans are not very knowledgeable on finances. So we get scared, we get all this information, we don't know if what they're telling us is the truth or not because we don't have enough information to make that decision. So we go make changes. The target date allows us to not have to deal with those emotions. So let me explain how they work. And I know it's lunchtime, so I apologize for these, but I'm going to explain target dates with pizza. Does anybody like pizza? I'm married to a Sicilian. We eat pizza in my house. So, now, let me ask you another question. So, we like pizza. Do you have children? Maybe there's children around you. Have you seen children eat stuff out of the floor? Sure. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right? We only see it like maybe 1/3 of the time, all right? Because the rest of the time. Okay, so when they're young, they have a really strong stomach. Right? Kids have, we do too. So we can take a lot of jalapenos on our pizzas. Right? Imagine the jalapenos, what do? They do this thing, right? They're kind of like spicy. Well, the same thing happens with your equities. Your stocks, they're spicy. They do this movement. They're good, but they kind of fluctuate up and down throughout the years. Then you may not want that many pineapples in your pizza, because pineapples are sweet, they're nice, but they're just kind of steady, right? So when you're young, just imagine your pizza full of those jalapenos, very little pineapples. As you get closer to retirement, hey, I may not be able to stand out that much jalapenos in my pizza, right? So they're going to start switching those jalapenos for the pineapples for you. Can you picture that? And I'm sorry, I don't have a visual, but just picture a pineapple kind of being changed, and your pizza maker is the American Funds. That's and you're gonna be able to read it all. I mean, American Century Funds, yeah. So they're right here, and then they have some numbers at the end. So if you wonder what the number means, is the year you're going to turn 65. We kind of put it in for you, and it's on page 24. So those are what we call the target dates. So what is the beauty of it? You never have to do anything. They take that emotion away, they start you out based on your age, and they'll just put you through retirement. All right? Does that make sense?
Let's pause there. So basically, it's just a glide path, right? They're assuming you'll retire at age 65 because everybody assumes to retire then because that's when you qualify for Medicare, right? So as you're younger, if you pick the 2055 one, it's going to be very aggressive right now because it's assuming you're going to retire way out here in the year 2055. So if you did nothing like she said before, we're automatically going to, based on your date of birth and age 65, place you in the coordinating target date, okay? That is not your only option. If you log in and want to do something else, you certainly can do that as well. We have risk models based on just risk. I want to be aggressive, I want to be conservative. All right, it's a little bit more active there, but you got to make that choice. Now, most of us in this plan pick remember the optimizer model that we already had in TransAmerica? So it's very, very similar to the target date. So if you were comfortable with what you had, the target date is a great mapping solution for you on this side. Now, some of you might change your mind and say, I need to change my risk, so my target date that's fitted for me may not actually be what I need to be in. And then that's when you need to talk with me specifically, because I might say, okay, yeah, you started late in life saving for retirement, so you don't need to be this conservative based on your date of birth, so we need to tweak something to get you a little bit more risk involved. Does that make sense? Okay.
And what he was talking about is on page 21, it's called Model My Goals. So what you do is that, let's say and I'm sorry, I'm a food person, but if you don't want the pizza that is made for you, you can also make your own. But we kind of give you like a couple of questions on a quiz that will give you some points to build your own pizza type of thing. Definitely it's going to be based on risk. If you go on page 18 and 19, that's where the quiz is, and then it will take you to one of the portfolios based on that risk and a little bit on your age as well. So if that's something you want to do, that's very easy as well. You can change it the moment that you go on the website and select the model, or you can change it when the money comes over and just make that selection.
So let's kind of simplify things. You have your default target date. That's the easy button, Staples easy button. Remember that commercial, right? All right. That's your easy button. If you want to manage risk and be conservative, moderate, or aggressive with your money, that's where the models come in. If you want to take it to the next step and you want to pick your own allocation, maybe you're husband, a significant other, or a family member that's an advisor. You want them to look at it and say, help me build my own portfolio, or me or Jessica, you can do that as well. So you've got really three options: easy, a little bit easy, and then do your own thing. All right. And again, we try to make this transition as easy as possible. That's why we're not changing your deferral rates. Whatever you're doing will map right over, unless you tell Marla that you want, or Molly, that you want to do a different percent than what you're currently doing. Most of the time I tell people, let it go through blackout and get into the new website and everything up on this side, and then we can go in and make changes. That's just me personally. You have the opportunity to do the change now if you want. Okay. So hopefully yes, I have Prozac and Jack Daniels in the car, because this is all depressing information about retirement, right? We all get it. But the company does the 3% non-elective for you, which means they automatically are going to put in 3% whether you do 401k or not. Like Carolina said, you got to be planning for the future. Your goal is 10% is where you should be on your own saving, right? And the reason for this is we're living longer. It's called longevity risk. What we're seeing more and more these days is, you retire at 65, but the average female now makes it age 89. Males make it 86 because, we just have worse habits, I think, than the females, right? That's a long time. That's a really long time. And think about this. If you make it to age 89 and you're still married, one of you has a more than 50% chance to live well into the 90s. That's another lifetime, right? And so you need to have that money saved to stretch it. Because where do you mainly get income? Where do most people plan their income comes from when they retire? What's that word? But Social Security. Social Security, right? Well, Social Security, is that taxable income or not? Yes or no?
According if you're still working when you draw money.
Correct. It depends. If you work and make a certain income per year, 85% of your Social Security check is going to be taxed. So let's just do an example. Does anybody know if you're an individual currently, what the average monthly check is? It's going to range between $1,800 and $2,200. Okay? So let's assume you have to pay taxes because you still work.
That's if you retire at 65.
Correct. If you go to 70, there's some play there.
I'm retiring at
just for example, though, yes, it's more specific. You can delay your Social Security and all that. But let's assume it's taxable. So that $2,200 or $1,800 is now worth about $1,200, $1,500 that you'll be able to use during the month. Okay? But remember, every 20 years, stuff tends to double in price. So now your Coca-Cola that costs $1.25 is going to be $3. Right? So that $100,000 you save today in 20 years buys 50 grand worth of stuff. You see where I'm going with this? So you gotta plan. The 3% definitely helps you, but don't just rely on that as being your supplemental income to your Social Security. Do your own. It's tax deduction. So you put in $10, you only miss $7 from your paycheck, right? So you actually have a built-in discount there. And it's just a good way to save over time. And hopefully, the stock market behaves over the next 20 some odd years and actually gives us some return back on our risk that we take with our money. Okay, that's really how it works. Now, our job is to sit there and help you navigate that risk, right? And like she said, emotion is going to be your worst enemy, right? Time is going to be your best friend. Okay, emotion makes you always do the wrong thing at the wrong time. Okay, so the models, the target dates takes that out of the equation, so it keeps you a lot more disciplined as you go through. Whether you're here or not, right, and you move somewhere else. Every company these days tends to have a 401k plan installed, or some version of that. So just remember, rule of thumb, and then I'll be quiet. As you're younger, you take on more risk. So as you're working, in your working days, you want to be between a moderate and aggressive investor, okay? As you get closer to retirement, this is where the target date does it for you. You want to reduce that risk from about 3 years from retirement. You want to be conservative, right? Because what can happen in the market? In 1 month, it can crash 50%. We saw that in 2008. There are a lot of people that want to retire in 2009. They're still working today. Why? Because they got hit, didn't move like they should have, and boom, they lost half their balance for retirement. Idle hands are the devil's workshop for some people, so they'll work forever. Right? But our goal is to try to get to those who don't want to get up in the morning, have that opportunity. Okay. How are we on time? Good? All right, beneficiary forms, are they?
Yes.
All right, can you do that online too?
No.
All right, so everybody, this is a great moment to go ahead and update your beneficiary form. It's a great exercise. It's in front of you. Beneficiaries usually are the out of sight, out of mind thing, right? Page 3, okay? We just need to get this on your personnel file in case something does happen to you. We understand who to send the money to. Now, here's the rules. If you're married, your spouse is automatic beneficiary 100%. So if you want to elect someone other than or along with your spouse as primary, in other words, who gets the money first, good luck with that signature because there's a waiver that that spouse will have to sign off on, getting 100% of the money day one, okay? Secondary is if you and the primary is deceased, they're next in line to get it. I get the question a lot too, what if I have children as contingent or secondaries? When will they get the money? When they're 18. They have access to the funds. We basically create an account for them. When they turn 18, they have the 3 options to take a distribution or roll over, okay? So don't worry about the 16-year-old driving in a brand new Porsche at the funeral, okay? Because they'll do that kind of stuff, right? All right? If you're single, you can designate anybody you want as primary, okay? There are percentages, so you can bust it up. I do this all the time with my kids. They look at me really funny when I do it, but when they act up, I say, all right, you just lost 10% on my beneficiary form. They're like, what? You don't get it, but you can adjust who gets what out of 100%. Does that make sense?
They have to be whole percentages.
Yeah, and don't do 33 and a half, just round up. Okay. This can be updated daily, so not today is the only time you can do it. You can update beneficiary forms, married, divorce, adoption, children. Be sure you update this, because if you don't, what happens? You don't have any beneficiary on file, it goes to probate court, and they decide who gets your money for you. And they get a cut of the pie as well. So this is your only voice if you're no longer here, unfortunately. So be sure you fill this out. Just turn it in before you die, and we'll be good. Y'all are a hard crowd. Usually that gets a chuckle, but. All right, so because of time, we didn't want to bombard you with too much stuff. I know this was very fast, but again, we tried to make it very simple for you. Does anybody have any questions for us? We'll actually hang out in case someone needs us one-on-one or wants to go ahead and go online and try to do something, all right? If you want to go ahead and do that. It's active, right? On the Mass Mutual side?
Yeah, they've been built, so your census is already there,
Okay.
so they should.
Okay. Do you want to add anything?
No, just
Okay.
make sure you put as much as you can. Every day counts. Every little bit extra adds up.
10% your goal. If you can only do 2 this year, try to increase 1% a year. That's all you need to do. Right? That's not going to kill your budget, but at least it moves forward. Life brings us storms. That's a pun because of yesterday, right? Life's going to bring you little storms, but we're going to have sunshine too. So the years that are good, you can bump it up. The years that are bad, we understand you have to pay bills and things like that.